Good afternoon. We all know that one person, or maybe a couple of people in our lives that we look at and we say, this is a person who's got it all together. This is a person who knows what they're doing. This is a person who makes good decisions in every situation. We look at them and we think they hardly do anything wrong. Maybe they don't do anything wrong, and we start to think, when was the last time I saw them do something wrong? Get angry or swear at somebody or cut somebody off in traffic or whatever it is. We think, I don't know that I've ever seen that out of this person. We look up to these people. We think about them often and envy the fact that they can live like that, and we just don't feel like we can. We think this person is pure in so many ways. And so we look at them and we think, if somebody's pure like that, if somebody's really doing good things and they're never doing things that are wrong, then for sure they're going to be able to get into heaven. If anybody's going to be able to get into heaven, they'll be able to get into heaven. And then we evaluate ourselves against them and we say, there's no way I'm measuring up. There's no way that I'm living as pure as they are. And then we realize that if we're not living pure that way, if they're better than we are, and they're going to get into heaven, then we question maybe we won't be able to get into heaven because we're not living pure that way. That's kind of what the Bible wants us to be able to do, to be able to look at ourselves, evaluate ourselves, and recognize that we're not living up to this purity that we're called to. But it's not that God wants us comparing ourselves to somebody else. He wants us comparing ourselves to Him. That God is pure, that God is perfect, and if we're not measuring up to that perfection, if we're not being like that, then there's no way we're getting into heaven on our own. And yet Jesus says this when He's speaking in Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, because they will see God. Who's going to qualify for that? Maybe that one person or two people that we know in our lives that we think are good enough, but who else could qualify for that? Who else is going to see God if they're pure in heart? Jesus is pointing out, you aren't going to be able to live up to that on your own. That is God's expectation. That is what God wants of you. He wants you to be pure in heart. But you're never going to be able to do it on your own. So how are you ever going to be able to see God? Well, you need a pure heart. And the only way to a pure heart is to have Jesus' pure heart count for you. The only way is if Jesus gives you purity. The only way is if Jesus takes His perfection and gives it to you so that it counts for you. So when God looks at you now, He sees Jesus' perfection instead. The pure heart of Jesus counts for you. And if you have that pure heart counting for you, then you will see God. That is a promise that God makes to you. That is the promise that God makes, not just to those who are looking like they're better than the rest, but it's that a promise that He makes to anyone who believes and trusts in Him. That Jesus has already done this for you, given you this pure heart, so that you can see God. Until we see each other again, the Lord's blessings on your day.